Brad Kovach with Terrain Magazine, here with Cam Zink. He's the Cardi B of mountain biking. And we just had a few questions. We just figured we'd have a little discussion about mountain biking here in St. Louis and elsewhere. The first question I have for you, it's a big question, but I mean, I'm sure you've been asked this before. You can probably boil it down. How long have you been riding, and what's mountain biking meant to you in your life? How has it impacted your life?
Well, I started riding a bicycle kind of the same age anyone would, 4 years old or whatever. But I started racing when I was 9, and that was huge for my future and everything. It was instantly found it more, more intriguing and fun, and I was a little more drawn to it than like soccer or baseball or any of those things. And my brother and I that was our thing, and just grew up with the bike, I guess. It's kind of it was just such a natural thing, and then started making money in it when I was 16 or 17, and that's been the only real job I've ever had, and it's been best part of my life.
That's great. I heard you say earlier that your family is from the Midwest. Did you grow up biking then in Ohio, I think you said, or was it elsewhere?
So my parents were from Ohio. They moved to Lake Tahoe, and that's where I was born, but they have moved back to Ohio. So the Midwest is like very much in me, but mm-hmm. I was like only for visiting mainly. But the idea of I probably wouldn't ride mountain bikes if we grew up in Ohio, but mm-hmm. that's what's so amazing about coming out here. And there's a little more elevation here, but it's so incredible to see how many people ride out here in the riding community, and also how much each of those people are willing to dedicate of their day and their week and their time to making the mountain bike community better.
Yep, good, great. So, and again, a broad question, but can you name a few of your career highlights for folks who might not be as familiar with you out here in the Midwest?
I think my career highlight is just being able to do it as long as I have. Like, the biggest thing is, there's so many achievements I've had that I'm like, all right, I'll be good after that. And then you do it, and then you keep going, and then but being able to ride for a living at 33 and making a good living for my family, and riding the bikes that I want to, so all the sponsors I have aren't just for a paycheck. They're like legitimately, I'd be running Truly helmets, I'd be drinking Monster Energy, I'd be running Michelin tires and YT bikes. Like, it's a treat. But as far as like contests, the 2010 was my second time winning Crankworks, which is our biggest slopestyle event. And then I won Red Bull Rampage and Best Trick at Red Bull Rampage, and then got the FMB World Tour, so the first world champion in freeride mountain biking. So that was the best year ever.
It sounds pretty good.
that was my best, on paper achievement. But I just love the fact that I've been able to do it for so long.
Yeah. Excellent. So we're out here, as we mentioned, we've been scoping out some trails today, or some areas for trails that we're hoping to build here in the area. Tell me about what you're doing with Census Rad Trails, and what you're out here for.
So I started this nonprofit, Census Rad Trails, years ago, and then it just kind of sat dormant because I didn't have time to dedicate to it. And then Cody showed a lot of interest to start kind of running the show and steering the ship. And the response has been overwhelming. We've created a bunch of incredible trails and parks and pump tracks already, and the biggest goal in the ethos of Rad Trails is just to make the sport a better place than when we found it. It's just always been frustrating showing up to trails and with no jumps, or when the jumps are built horribly and unsafe, and then it gives the sport a bad name and sets it back a little bit. So I feel like we're finally in a position where I have the means and then the assets to be able to actually contribute and stop complaining and make mountain biking better than we found it, and make it more accessible, make it more fun for 2-year-olds up to 70-year-olds. It's a pretty cool time, especially with the communities like this, the bikes progressing, and just the overall awareness and the overall image of the bike is cooler. Like, it's used to be, if you weren't racing or riding mountain bikes, you'd look at them as Lycra wearing kind of nerds or something, and it was too daunting too. It wasn't as fun. It was more like just race oriented back in the day, in like the late 90s, and now it's more accessible, fun, recreation, similar to snowboarding or something, and it's arguably better for family time than snowboarding, because you can just go out for free and go ride with your kids and your mom and whoever. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, I've definitely found that with my own family. No question. Got a couple little girls who mountain bike with me, so it's great. So nonprofit versus profit. Rad Trails is nonprofit. Why is that important, and why did you go that route?
I have another job and I have another business, and I don't think it's something that I'm looking to make money off of. Again, I just want to do what I can to make it more fun, get more people into the sport, and then hopefully people will just appreciate what I've done. And I like seeing I like living up to my potential first and foremost. Instead of comparing yourself to the next competitor and trying to beat them, just try to live up to your potential, and you end up usually rising above and beyond what you thought it would be competing with someone else. But the same kind of the trails, I just feel like there's so much more potential in the sport, and I feel like I know some things that would be really easy to mitigate and other things that would be better to implement. So I'm just trying to do what I can to make mountain biking all it can be.
Yeah, excellent. So a lot of talk these days about the terms progressive and modern trails and those sorts of things. For those who might not be familiar with what that means, can you quickly just tell people what makes a progressive trail or a progressive trail feature?
I guess it would just have to be based on what is the norm now, and something that pushes it in whatever direction you might want it to be. But I think that that most kids and the people that brings people into the sport, same with snowboarding and skiing, is accessibility, flow and smoothness to where it's not jarring, when you're doing it right, and jumps. So adding flow to trails, adding berms and rollers, and adding jumps that are safe, because one of the trails we're working on, if we said the word jump, they were terrified. We don't want it. But they have a rock section that could literally kill someone. If someone went over the bars in the rock section, you could puncture a lung or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. To think the mindset is so scared of jumps, and so I would say that's probably the easiest target to label as progressive, but. It's a new way of designing it. You think of surfing or something, just getting flow and being able to jump and ride the trail a different way rather than just down a meandering path. There's options in the corners, and it just makes it more fun.
Mm-hmm. And that's the way things are going, right? Honestly, so it seems to make more sense that we build the trails correctly so that kids can learn at the lower end and progress through those rather than throwing them on something that is way above their skill level.
Yeah.
So,
same thing for skate parks. People will build a subpar skate park or hire someone that's not really qualified. I can do concrete and rebar, I can, and then people don't go. People don't show up and people don't ride it, and then they'd rather skate the street. So good quality, well-planned park is kind of like a well-planned trail. If you build it right, then it's going to get tons of traffic. People are going to be safer, going to have more fun. They're going to tell their friends, bring new people in the sport, buy a bike.
Mm-hmm. So you've been in town for almost 48 hours. What have you seen here? What do you think the potential is for just, the land you've seen, the topography you've seen? What do you think we could do here in St. Louis?
All I know is that if I could come into town, get the incredible barbecue we had yesterday, and have some of the amazing bourbon we had, go to that bike park, then go swimming afterward, and on the same property, and then be right next to the hotel. It's too easy almost. It's so well placed, and I can't imagine having a spot like that in my hometown that's so close to a parking lot and a community center and a pool, and it's incredible food. It's accessible and nice, good airport. Everything. It's just it's perfect.
Yeah. Great. Have you had a chance to ride here at all? I don't think you had the bike with you.
No.
Bummer. So just as kind of a last one or two questions, what would you say to folks who maybe are still, we have a great cycling community here. Don't get me wrong. In fact, it's fantastic. But there are mostly cross-country trails here. So some people may be a little nervous about the idea of progressive trails. What would you just say to them? Give it a chance, or what would be your message to those people?
I would say it's most things that are daunting. you're reluctant to try, you gotta just try it. Like you have to, the thought of being, I think Guy Ritchie said it was like the thought of being uncomfortable is worse than actually being uncomfortable. So like,
yeah, makes
so
sense.
don't worry about it. Don't be scared of it. Just when we get done with it, give it a try, and we'll guarantee you'll have more fun on your bike.
Yeah.
And then it'll open up your mind to progressing on the jumps, and then you'll be like, that'll be your new favorite thing to do, and hit the jumps. So, or even just be able to ride them, and then add that to your trail ride. Add some sort of excitement and getting some hang time, and then snap in the next corner. Like it's expand your horizons, and it's what the kids are doing.
Yeah. All right, last question. So now that you're building trail a little more often, are you hanging up the full face? I mean, what do you have coming up in your future?
No, not at all. I still say if I had one bike, it'd be my downhill bike. That's what I enjoy the most, and it's kind of who I am, I guess, and I'm just fortunate to have amazing trail bikes too, because I ride for YT and all these amazing companies, and Shimano, and have the new XTR, 12 speed. Like I have sweet bikes and I have good trails to ride, but my main focus and what keeps me going and what makes me a complete person is like riding downhill and riding big mountain lines and big drops and stuff. And I like riding it all though. It's really remarkable how far the bikes have come though. What you can actually do on a single crown with a half shell if you wanted, like it's pretty incredible.